What, they were playing against 3 guys in a herd of sheep? I'll be honest, I was going for the clickbait there. Before he died at the age of 24. Joy at parties. It would cost about $4 billion. Really, we just enjoy annoying other people. The sound of bagpipes could be heard around the world this week as the 153rd playing of the Open Championship took place at Royal Portrush Golf Club in Northern Ireland. While those of us familiar with the haunting sounds of the pipes enjoyed its wafting melodies, others swatted the air around them wildly, thinking there was a gnat buzzing around their head, somehow to the tune of Amazing Grace. But from Portrush to Portland and every other port, I suppose, golf snobs everywhere took joy in the fact that they could correct anyone who referred to the tournament as the British Open, pointing out instead that per the R&A's decree, it is the Open Championship. The rationale behind this seems similar to us Ohio State fans insisting it be called the Ohio State. Sure, we say it's because of honor and tradition, but really we just enjoy annoying other people. The Not the British Open was won by Scottie Scheffler because, well, I think he basically just wins every tournament at this point. Prior to the tournament, Scheffler wondered at a press conference why he cares so much about winning golf tournaments, claiming that the feeling of joy and accomplishment only lasts about 2 minutes. Following that press conference, Scheffler wondered to himself, gee, what do those 2 minutes feel like? It's been about 15 minutes since I've won a major championship, so I better remind myself. After holding the winning putt on the 72nd hole of the Open Championship, Scheffler could be heard exclaiming, "This is great! I've never felt better in my life!" About 2 minutes later, after signing his scorecard, Scheffler asked his caddy, "How many days until the Masters?" Daddy needs his fix. Victory is a hell of a drug. Welcome back to Stories with Sweeney, your internet palate cleanser. I am John Sweeney. On today's show, we have got the golfing tragedy of young Tom Morris in honor of the the Open Championship. That joke is never going to get old for me. We also have this week the 56th anniversary of the moon landing is coming up. We're going to talk about that and why those who deny the moon landing happened are just really joy at parties. And then also this week's random conversation starter. So let's get things started with young Tom Morris. He won 4 Open Championships, invented the concept for the modern golf swing, and scored the first ever hole-in-one in major championship history. Young Tom Morris had it all until tragedy struck. He lost both his wife and child during childbirth, and Morris himself would die several months later, many said, from a broken heart. The crazy thing is, he's called young Tom Morris because all of this happened before he died at the age of 24. An incredibly sad story, but one that golf fans are familiar with. It's funny, whenever I talk about old Tom Morris or young Tom Morris, because old Tom Morris, his father, actually won 4 Open Championships in his own right. Incredible golfing family, obviously. I've had a lot of people tell me, well, John, back then, because this took place in the late 1800s, I mean, come on, they were playing against 3 guys in a herd of sheep, which was basically true. But to paraphrase the great Bobby Jones, you can't judge a golfer by the players he played against in his era, because it's impossible for him to travel to another era in time and see what he would do against different competitors or different equipment and all that. You can only judge him by the obstacles he faced and how well he tackled them. And look, young Tom Morris, you have to recognize him in the pantheon of great golfers. If you want to learn more about it, there are a ton of articles about him, but there are also, in researching this show, I realized there are 2 things. It's actually based on the same property, but Tommy's Honor is a movie that is about young Tom Morris. I have not seen it, but if you have, let me know in the comments. Also, it's based off of a book which is written by, I've got the name right here, hold on, Kevin Cook. Kevin Cook wrote a book by the same name, Tommy's Honor. I haven't read that, but it's going to be on my list. If you have seen the movie or read the book, let us know in the comments if it's worth going through, and maybe I'll review one or both on the channel. Next up, we're going to talk about the moon landing and why those who deny that it happened are just so much fun. But first, aspirational advertisements. You want to know what true success looks like? Well, let me show you. It looks like Johnston & Murphy dress shoes. You see, when I was in college, my college professor told me that you weren't truly successful until you owned a pair of Johnston & Murphy dress shoes. For whatever reason, that stuck in my brain. Because ever since I got a real grown-up job, the only pair of dress shoes I have ever bought are Johnston & Murphy's. Now, at this point, look, even these crappy pair of shoes. I don't know why that left such an impression in my brain, but it did. And at this point, I think Johnston & Murphy should either pay me money to endorse their product because it's the only shoe that I buy at this point, or I should seek professional help. Johnston & Murphy, because your college professor told you to and was probably getting commission. On July 20th, 1969, America did the impossible.
No way!
Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong planted the flag, hopped around, and took a drive. They also put to bed the myth that the moon is made of cheese.
Everybody knows the moon's made of cheese.
Remarkably, 56 years later, 10% of Americans think the moon landing was fake. A whopping 27% of adults 18 to 24 lead the way in saying the moon landing didn't happen. So that's one small step for man, one giant leap backward for the public education system. I am reasonably certain that we walked on the moon, but only partially convinced that it's not made of cheese. So let me start out by saying the moon landing continues to be one of America's just seminal accomplishments. It is absolutely incredible that we were able to do this. The fact that it's been 56 years is kind of nuts. And yeah, if you haven't had a conversation with someone who doesn't think the moon landing was real, it's a trip, let me tell you. And I don't mean to demean anybody here. Look, everybody has the right to their beliefs and their opinions and everything. However, I think that the evidence is pretty strong that we went to the moon. We went to the moon, okay? But I do have a couple fun stories about this actually that I'll summarize into one. When I worked for a congressman, I worked in the local congressional office here in South Carolina. I did encounter some people who were moon landing deniers, and it was really interesting because they would just slip it into the most random conversations that you're having. I remember one, I was asking a guy, I think he had Social Security benefits that we were doing an inquiry into some benefits he thought he should be getting. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, sure. We're going to submit this. It should be back in 2 weeks. We should have some word. And he goes, that's great. We didn't land on the moon. Just like that. Completely, like speaking of, no one was talking about this. And that's been my experience with a lot of folks who don't think we landed on the moon. Do you think we landed on the moon? Please let us know in the comments. Let's start some sort of a fight here. I'll just post the links to a bunch of Neil deGrasse Tyson videos and other things. There are obviously more sources than just Neil deGrasse Tyson, but it's one of those conspiracies. I have to ask myself, do I believe in any conspiracy theory? Are there any conspiracy theories that I get kind of jazzed up about? I think conspiracy theories are kind of fun to think about, but once I personally dig one or two layers in, whether it's the moon landing or the Kennedy assassination, or Jeffrey Epstein, good Lord, if we get into that, once I get one or two layers in, I kind of go, oh, well, there's a reasonable explanation for any of this. When it comes to the moon landing, the reasonable explanation is we went to the moon. So there's that. But anyway, let's start a fight in the comments and let's see what happens. All right, responding to comments. This is a segment that I've wanted to do for a very long time and I just haven't done it. So let's dig into it. This was on the video that I posted a couple of weeks ago about Paige Sporanic and her hot take on fixing ball marks. Joyful Trails says, with a coach like Paige, I might be able to get into golf. Yes, I'm sure we all would. Also on that same video, at NateDog316, you leaned on Paige too much in this clip. LOL. Yeah. 100%. I'll be honest, I was going for the clickbait there. But I did think it was interesting. I think that Paige Sporanic's model is an interesting one, as well as the number of I guess I'd call them golf babe influencers out there, who, dress in a very provocative way and then post golf content and, pretend like they're actually giving us tips on how to improve our putting or whatever. And I mean, maybe they are, but I think people like Paige fully understand that that's not the reason the majority of folks are watching their videos. But yeah, I totally relied way too much on Paige for that video, but it was still fun to do, and I hope you enjoyed it. Conversation starters. For those of you who don't know, I enjoy conversation starters. I think they're a lot of fun. My wife and I have a bunch of them that we keep around the house, and when we have folks over, we take them out, and it's amazing how even with just one or two cards, you start these crazy conversations, and then the fun thing is actually trying to remember what started the conversation you're on now, like a half hour later. So anyway, here's one. This is random. I've never seen this before. What would you name your own amusement park, and what would be the best ride? Okay. That is hilarious that is the question that came up. I actually have detailed plans for an amusement park. It would cost about $4 billion. The name of it is like, I'm not entirely sure what the perfect name would be, but the fill-in name right now, the placeholder name is Blue Ridge Castle. My idea is to have this theme park built in the Blue Ridge Mountains, have these incredible lands where you have whitewater rafting, and then you have roller coasters and stuff, all of it surrounding mountain themed and kind of the magic of the Blue Ridge Mountains. I don't know what I honestly have about a dozen different rides that I have designed, and I'm not going to go into them now because I still harbor hope that I'm going to get $4 billion to build this thing one day. But let's just say one of my favorite rides that I would build in it would be, think if the Tree of Life in Disney's Animal Kingdom had a crazy roller coaster in it. That would be my ride. I'm not going to say any more because, again, somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'll get $4 billion one day and build this theme park. But anyway, that's fun. So let us know, what is, if you had an amusement park, what would the name of it be, and what would be the best ride? Let us know in the comments. That's all the time we have for Stories with Sweeney. Thank you so much for joining us. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and shower me with money randomly if you feel so inclined. I don't know. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time.